It is Friday, May the 23rd. This is The Warning. Another week has come to an end in Washington, and this one has been a disaster for the American people. Never in the entire history of the country has so much been taken by so few from so many, and those few are the richest and most powerful people on the planet. Senator Elizabeth Warren described the events that took place at Trump's golf club as an orgy of corruption. Here is Justin Sun, a Chinese national. Last year, the crypto billionaire paid $6 million for a banana taped to a wall. Justin ate the banana. He fist pumped in front of the American flag after paying tens of millions of dollars directly to Donald Trump and his family, saying, "Fight, fight, fight." An orgy of corruption. Saudi corruption, Qatari corruption, Emirati corruption, Chinese crypto corruption. Foreign interests, no doubt, filled with intelligence services, have bought the American presidency. Donald Trump is selling out the country bit by bit, piece by piece. There has never been anything like it. And it begs a question. How did this happen? How did such corruption become commonplace? How did it come to be that a man who looked into the camera over the course of his presidency was viewed as the more honest candidate by scores of tens of millions of Americans against the alternative? The conservative media, led by Fox News, has been a singular cancer in American society. It has eroded the capacity of the American people to tell what is right from wrong, what is up from down, what is left from right, what is right from left, to distinguish between blue and red or green and yellow. It is the great fog machine, and it has assaulted fundamental pillars of American life. Lie after lie after lie over 10 long years has brought us to this moment. And the most vicious lie perpetrated against the country, of course, was the fiction about the stolen election that led to a coup and led to the pardoning of thousands of criminals with hatred in their heart for the country. The United States came into being because George Washington, who could have been a king, said no. He walked away from the power. He submitted himself to a higher cause. And Donald Trump has upended that. But he did not do it alone. He did it at the tip of a poisoned spear. Behind him, an industrial-grade lie machine. Now, how did it come to be that Jake Tapper wound up this avatar of the corporate media, this smug and self-serious, sanctimonious man who is paid $8 million a year by David Zassoff at CNN, who pays himself $52 million a year? How did it come to be that Jake Tapper found himself on his knees with Megyn Kelly saying this?
Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay?
I get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too.
In this.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean, after we did the research for this book and I realized how bad his acuity issues were.
And apologizing, saying the conservative media was right. This is, bar none, the greatest propaganda victory in 10 years' time for Donald Trump. The anchor at CNN, to whom CNN has invested tens of millions of dollars of marketing and in fact turned over the network's air to the marketing of a book alleging a cover-up, when in fact, the story of the cover-up is not the story of the people around Biden. It's the story of the willful blindness of the media. And so Jake Tapper is like a Johnny Appleseed, spreading day by day a trail of media corruption forensically that historians can look back upon to clearly understand what happened during this rancid age when the lowest man in the country became its most powerful, and a Congress turned into a Politburo, and a media which is supposed to afflict the powerful became their indispensable partners in an industry of bullshittery that has strangled the republic and brought American democracy to its greatest point of crisis since the American Civil War. Let's look at Jake Tapper go on Morning Joe.
He came on this show, and you guys had a robust conversation about this. You largely agreed that you'd been hearing things about this, but that there was really no alternative, that Kamala Harris was not up to the job. That's what Democrats were telling you behind the scenes. Joe Biden saw that. Joe Biden said to staffers that he wanted to convince you that you were wrong.
Now, Joe Scarborough, of course, is the person who said Donald Trump was a Nazi. Let's watch.
If it sounds like Nazism, if it walks like Nazism, if he makes threats the way he's making threats, I'm not exactly sure what you call it if you don't call it fascism.
And he did it more than once. And so did his wife. And yet, they were the very first people after Trump's election to race to Mar-a-Lago, race to the Berghof to meet with Hitler. To do what? To appease him. Now, Joe Scarborough disingenuously said he was there to take Donald Trump's measure because when Joe Scarborough sits with somebody, he's able to deduce their character. He's able to tell his audience what's going on. Now, Jake Tapper has given Joe Scarborough and Mika and the entire Morning Joe set dispensation. He's offered forgiveness. You see, it turns out Joe is an ingenue. And he's a victim of the conspiracy. Joe never saw the president in any type of diminished form. No, not for a day. Here's what he told Mark Halperin.
Looking back at that, do you say, well, it was misleading to say best Biden ever without caveating it and say, except on the days when he's not the best Biden ever?
Well, but I never saw those days personally.
Well, you did, because you saw him address a dead congresswoman, and you saw him in South Carolina.
A dead congresswoman, yeah.
Joe Scarborough saw Joe Biden, not how the country saw him, but how Joe wanted to see him in order to maintain proximity to power, because Joe loved it when Joe Biden saw something on the television show and decided that the president's time would be best spent by convincing Joe Scarborough that Joe Biden was right. And so Joe Biden would call Joe Scarborough and have hour-long conversations about policy. And Joe Scarborough loved it, made him feel important and relevant and powerful. And to keep that going, he would say anything. But now, according to Jake Tapper, we can understand how it happened. Joe was deceived. He was tricked. He was manipulated. But it does raise a question, doesn't it? If Joe can be so easily manipulated, might he be manipulated when he's alone in the room with Trump and Mika? So at any rate, Jake Tapper said to Joe Scarborough, you see, when did you meet? Oh, it was at noon. That's when Biden would do his meetings to trick people like you, because there was an entire campaign to convince Joe Scarborough that Joe Biden was good to go. And then Joe Scarborough policed the media, what you could say, what you could not say, what was in bounds, what was out of bounds. And now, that corruption has rendered itself in Jake Tapper going on Megyn Kelly's show and capitulating the truth to the lie. And for 10 years, this wrestling match in the ether between the lie and the truth has been the dominant feature of American life. And so here is the moment where the corporate media dies, where it kills itself, when it lays down prostrate, supine at Megyn Kelly's feet, and it says to the former Rupert Murdoch princess, You're the truth teller and I'm the liar. And he did it to sell books. It is an appalling moment unequaled in 21st century American journalism. Jake Tapper has gone to the people who lied to the American people tens of thousands of times, who poisoned reality by lying about a stolen election, by mitigating the crimes that followed it, by smearing it every conceivable turn. Decency, with lie after lie after lie, have been validated in the greatest propaganda victory they'll ever get. An admission by the dishonest Jake Tapper at a dishonest network that went off the rails in pursuit of a reality television show and became a reality show in itself. Let's watch Scott Jennings here to make the point perfectly clear.
I'm just saying, all these people have done things. I think they're worthy of investigation. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but they're not being targeted because they're Democrats. They're being targeted because there's lots of evidence around them.
This opened the door to this low moment. And trust me when I tell you, we have hit rock bottom in the corporate media. It's like a Law and Order merging with CSI, except for it's not two great shows. It's two of the lowest journalistic hacks that have ever been coming together to bullshit and gaslight and expunge their complicity in one of the most significant lies in American history, because Mark Halperin is precisely right when he says what went down in 2024 was the greatest journalism scandal in American history. And the truth is, in order to get out of this moral disaster in this country, it has to be faced, because truth tellers and people with conviction and people with guts and integrity are the answer. And they're held down by the Tappers of the world, self-serving takers, just like the Trumps they condemn, but now apologize for, and two, because there's a buck to be made from it. It's as despicable and as wrong as it gets, but that's what they call journalism, at least on CNN in 2025. And it's hurting the American people, and it's strangling the American Republic. This book, in this book tour, Original Sin, it ought to be changed to a better name that describes it more clearly and more aptly. Original Obscenity, because that's what it is. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about what is happening in this country. America is in crisis. Follow and subscribe to this channel and on Substack. Thank you.